everyone, and welcome to episode 398 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week. Kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Hey, Seth. I survived the heat wave. My computer didn't melt. It's good.
Whew. That's good to hear. Yeah, I know it's been super hot. It's so funny because y'all are going through a heat wave, and here it's just like kind of been cold and rainy and starting to feel like fall and summer's over. So very different on the other side of the country.
I wish.
Yeah, no snow yet, but you can feel it coming close. You heard that other voice chime in. Krim, our other co-host. It seems like you survived the heat wave as well. You got the worst of it, right? Out of all of us, I think.
Yeah, like SoCal got it pretty bad. Although I hear like Sacramento is like on fire, or like pretty much like at like 109, 110 degrees and stuff. But my internet kept cutting in and out, so I'm just happy to have my connection back.
Well, good to have you back. Yeah, it's very. I can't live without internet. I've realized that. I think I'm addicted or something. My power goes out for
10
like
degrees or no internet.
Oh my god.
110 degrees is like as long as my internet works, I guess.
Yeah, then at least you can distract yourself by playing Magic or something. If you have no internet, oh man, I just go stir crazy hot after a few hours. Yeah, hot and miserable and bored. Add them all together. Anyway, our podcast for today, we got a couple interesting topics. We want to talk a little bit about Standard. We're a couple weeks into our new Standard format now, and we want to talk a little bit about where the format's at. We're also getting some spoilers for the Warhammer 40k Commander decks. Like literally as we're recording this, they're doing a stream, spoilers are popping out, so we want to talk about some of those. An update maybe on the Lorcana cards that we talked about yesterday. We got our last podcast, we got a little more information, and then answering your fish mail, of course. So that's kind of the overview for today. Before we get into it, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. And if you're tired of all the hassles that go into buy listing your cards, well, Card Conduit lets you skip over all the typing and the time and the work. With their curated service, you can send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and just pay a 5% service fee. And if you want to put in a little bit of effort on your end, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards ahead of time and pay just a 2% fee. And no matter which option you choose, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed. And oh yeah, right now, you can even get another 10% off if you head over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. Let's start with probably the big topic. We just had Standard rotation. We have our new Dominaria United format. We got a couple weeks of data now from tournaments. Let's start with the easy question. What do you guys think is Standard? I know we've all been playing it. Like, where are you at with Standard now that we've been playing it for a couple of weeks, at least online?
I am addicted to it. It feels super balanced, lots of fun, grindy games, and I feel like lots of my decisions matter. It's not like, like the old, okay, 1-for-1 enough times, slowly accrue value. Not just one card like Oko running away with the game or anything like that, even down to the Planeswalkers. So, and more importantly, it's been fun watching a lot of the people who never got to play with Liliana learn about our hidden mode where you just don't have to activate her.
Ooh, we have a different opinion on Standard, but what do you think, Richard?
Ooh, I'm with Krim. I think this is the greatest Standard it's ever been in quite a while. It is very diverse, and this is the Jund player in me, right? But all the games are super interesting, and I can play all my pet cards in any colors and like still get away with it. So I actually think Standard's in a really good spot, despite what I see everywhere else on social media. I just don't understand what people are talking about. But Seth, I'm sure you could chime in and fill us in what the community's talking about Standard.
Okay, so just so it's clear, I do agree with you guys partly, in that I really enjoyed Standard. The games are grindy and interesting and fun. The part I kind of disagree with is the diversity. I think that we're still at the place where black is kind of dominating the format, and that's kind of like the big topic in the community is just how prevalent black decks are. We talked about this last podcast, but now we have another week of, obviously we haven't had a pro tour or anything, but we've had a bunch of tournaments, we haven't had Standard challenges and so forth. And it still really is like 8 out of the top 8 decks, 7 out of the top 8 decks in all these tournaments are black base decks of some kind. Esper, Mardu, Grixis, Mono Black, Jund. So there is diversity, and you can play your pet cards if you play black in your deck. It reminds me of Modern's diversity in a weird way. Like, we talk about Modern being super diverse, and it's diverse if you play a bunch of Modern Horizons 2 cards, and then you can surround those with whatever you want. But as long as you're playing the busted Modern Horizons cards, then it's super diverse. I feel like Standard's kind of in the same place. It's diverse. You can choose any color or combination of colors or no colors to splash in your black shell. But if you're not playing the black shell, you're probably going to have a bad time, and that's kind of reflected in the metagame page. If you look at just the most played decks on the metagame page, Mono Black Grixis, Jund, Rakdos, Esper, Grixis Vampires, Orzhov, Mardu, you gotta get down to like number 9 and you get a Naya Reanimator deck, and then you go back to Orzhov Control, Rakdos, Esper. So really, what do you think about black in this format? Like I said, I'm also enjoying this format and I found it really fun, but I don't know if is it balanced, or is black just like so far ahead of everything else it's balanced if you play black?
It's closer to legacy than modern. So in modern, when you build your, invoke elemental decks or whatever, like, you get smashed by those cards. Those cards were the best cards in the deck. And you see it over and over again. Or you lose to a monkey deck, like you're losing to monkey, which whatever they're supporting it with. But in legacy, like, everything is a brainstorm deck, but all the decks play like extremely differently. And I think it's the same in standard. Like, yes, everything is black based, but you're still losing to like the best card, which is like Wedding Announcement, or the Wandering Emperor, or maybe a Fable, or a Blood Tithe Harvester, or maybe a Rafine, or maybe a Corpse Appraiser or something. Like, the actual colors you pair with black are the best cards in the deck, right? Or are very impactful, and the decks kind of play differently. It doesn't feel like, it's a pet removal card or something, right? It's actually, it's the Wandering Emperor killing you, yes, or it's like Titan of Industry being reanimated and killing you, right? Like, so it feels different, even though it is all black based.
Or Obscura Interceptor, which has been awesome bouncing stuff back.
Yes.
Like I'm not even joking. Like, outside of Mono Blue, which by the way has no black, and has been very good, you can just play almost anything that isn't like mono green. Funny enough, I think mono green is
mono green is the worst.
Yeah, mono green is like really bad. Like, holy cow. Like, yes, you have all these like big 5 mana like creatures, 6 mana creatures, and then, one removal spell and it goes bye-bye. Right? Like, so I don't know. I mean, right now, just like Richard had mentioned, because even though like black is dominating like the card pool, none of the matchups feel like they're the same thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that there's a bunch of black decks running around, as long as the play patterns aren't miserable. So I am really loving every game that I'm playing.
Yeah, it's a lot different than, like, say, when Coco was dominant. All the Coco decks like looked and felt the same, and you just played the same thing over. You played the same mirror over. But even when you play like a black-based mirror, like you play Orzhov versus Grixis or Rakdos, it's like totally different. So I can get behind this, like, the best card is like, I don't know, Cut Down and Meathook Massacre and Liliana. Like, it's just removal, right? Like, all the bombs and winning cards are still different colors.
So, okay, next question on Standard. While we're talking about black cards in Standard, our data has Meathook Massacre at 75% of decks, which is a mind-blowing number. Like, when Oko went to the Pro Tour the one time before it got banned, it was like 68 on day 1, 72 on day 2, 75 in the top 8. Like, these are Oko numbers. Obviously, as we've been talking about, there are a diversity of black decks, so it still does feel different. But one thing I haven't seen much of, maybe with the exclusion of like blue counterspell decks, is aggro, really. I feel like if you look at the metagame page and look at tournaments and just my subjective, like, playing games experience, you don't really see, like, run out my aggro creatures, attack you, unless you got blue for counterspells. Do you think that Meathook Massacre is a problem? Is it a problematic card for Standard? I feel like that's the card that really just keeps aggro from existing. And I know you can argue like, oh, some of the black decks play Evolve Sleeper and they're more aggro than the other black decks, but that's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, oh, I added a 1-drop to my black shell and now I'm aggro, but like traditional like mono green, mono red, gruel, color combinations like that. What do you think about that? Like, does Standard need aggro to actually be healthy, or doesn't that actually really matter?
I mean, I do think that there should be an aggressive deck. And there are. I've actually run into a decent amount of mono red. But like Meathook Massacre is like the worst thing against mono green though. Like holy cow, there's stuff just like you have to spend like 90 mana to like kill like a 6/6 or something like that. But yeah, like mono red, if you're thinking of just mono red being like the traditional like aggro deck, I would like there to be one. But Meathook Massacre is just so good against red decks because nothing of theirs
I lost
lives.
to mono red playing Meathook Massacre, like literally playing it. I still lost. It's possible, guys.
Yeah.
The trick is
they're fast.
I just played Burn for this week's Budget Magic that you can find on the YouTube. A 0 rare Burn deck, and the trick is really twofold. One is you just hope they don't have it, and you pray real hard to the Magic gods that they don't have Meathook Massacre, and then you win. The other plan is just not to play creatures. I realized I got to the point playing the deck where I'm like, I think I just have to like not play this like Phoenix Chick or whatever, and hope that I draw burn spells, because if I play Phoenix Chick, it's gonna die and they're gonna gain life, and then I'm not gonna be able to kill him. So I think you gotta like intentionally avoid creatures in some situations. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not super comfortable with the card being a 75% of the meta, honestly.
It's a wrath that gains you life, right? Like that seems wrong. And it's also a finisher, so like your aggro decks also play Meathook Massacre, right? You're like, I'll just wrath my board and get some reach out of this. Thanks, right? So it does a lot. It is slow though, right? You can actually outrace it, right? Like if you play green, which no one does, right? You play red, or my favorite, I play Broker's Ascendancy. You just like outgrow the Meathook Massacre. So it's theoretically beatable, but I feel people just aren't attacking the meta, or like they're attacking the meta, but in a way you don't want them to. They're like, I'll beat all the black decks by playing black-white, right? Or by playing black-red. That's the aggro, right? I played Bloodtide Harvesters, and now I'm the aggro deck, right? And I'll get in before you can get your off Invoke Despairs or whatever, right? So it is happening. It's just not as you want it to be.
It makes sense because beating Meathook Massacre, maybe the easiest way is having your own, because then they kind of cancel each other out outside of the wrath effect. But when they're both on the battlefield, like, oh, they lose a life, but you gain a life. So like nothing happens if each player has a Meathook Massacre.
Which is great. So then, I don't know. I think this is like probably one of something about like asking for, like it is thinking about a board wipe being problematic is just kind of like wild to me. It's a slow one, but you're right. Like it is a finisher. It is a way to like get back into a game. And
what is the alchemy nerf to it? It's nerfed in alchemy.
They don't.
No
you
life
don't gain
gain.
a life,
Oh,
which is
no life gain,
which is a huge difference. I stopped playing it entirely. It's like trash without the life gain.
Oh wow.
So yeah, like because then it narrows it down to like only the actual just sacrifice deck. That's the only deck that can play it.
Yeah, because the life gain is huge. Like that is what makes it so good against aggro. Like if it just swept the board, mono red wouldn't care. Like whatever, I get back my Phoenix Chick, I get back my stuff, I play some hasters, I kill you. But it's like, oh, I gain 4 life along the way, or I gain 5 life along the way. That's what really swings it, I think, in the black versus aggro matchups.
I also blame Arena for all of this, right? Like say you crafted mono black mid-range, right? You dumped your like 50 wild cards into it and you want to play a new deck. You're like, I'll just craft like 2 Wandering Emperors and play Orzhov, right? Yeah. Like it doesn't cost much more to go black X. It costs like way more to be like, yes, let me craft like mono green Stompy and I have no idea if it's good or not, right? And as a result, not many players try it and not many players tune it. Because I think like, we talked about it last week. The black shell is super easy to beat, like even without playing black yourself. But we just don't see the diversity, and I'm not sure why. And I think it's partly due to like most people play in Arena and they don't want to just craft like random cards. But yeah, like Lily's not that hard to beat. Like it's not that you can beat
it really
Massacre, right? Like you can beat these cards if you want, right? And guess what? There's nothing else in the meta, right? Normally, if you like sell out to beat this deck, like you might get crushed by another deck, but everything is black-based mid-range, right? So you'll be good against the entire field. So I feel part of it is something to do with arena economy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like that actually makes a lot of sense.
I think the arena economy might play a part of in it, although I will say, if you look at like standard challenge results on Magic Online that doesn't have the same economy issues, it's still super black heavy. Like maybe it's
because we test
less black heavy, but
I've been playing standard leagues and they don't fire that quickly, and I play the same people over and over again. I think we all play on arena and then just play the challenges on Moto.
and jump over there and play the challenges. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So. I mean, I guess the other good news is, in this very clearly, like, I don't think we need a banning now. Standard has still been super fun. The numbers, though, just jump off the page. Like, just such a high percentage of decks playing the same cards is a little scary. But I think the other bit of good news is we have a new set coming in, like, the beginning of November. So really, we're, I don't even know, 6 weeks away from being in spoiler season, maybe even less than that, and then having a new set release. So at this point, I think if we have this black heavy standard for the next 6 weeks and then we get a new set and see what happens from there, I'm perfectly fine with that. I probably don't think this is healthy for 2 years. Like if it's 2 years of black being 75% of the meta, that's probably not ideal. So hopefully some of the new sets coming up shift the meta a little bit towards other colors.
So does banning the meatball do anything?
I don't think so. Why?
Right?
I mean, like they'd be down a board
because
wipe,
all of the other cards are still just as good, and you would probably slot in whatever sweeper you had in whatever color you paired with, right? So, like, does that fix anything? Like, what happens when all of the cards are too good?
My thinking would be, and maybe this wouldn't work out the way that I have it kind of planned out in my head, but I would think if you got rid of Meathook Massacre, I think the upside is maybe that lets traditional aggro be a thing. Like, I think that's the card. Like, I think you can get in under these black mid-range decks, the Jund and Espers, if it wasn't for Meathook Massacre coming down and like getting rid of all your 1-drops, getting rid of all your 2-drops, gaining your opponent a bunch of life. So that would be maybe the upside. I think that black would still be the best color in standard, but maybe you have like a mono red deck that actually has a legit shot at like competing with the top of the meta in that scenario.
Mono red will like get pantsed by a single resolve Sheoldred though.
Yeah, Sheoldred, depopulate. Like, I think aggro is like hosed even if you get rid of Meathook, right? They got to print some legit aggro cards.
I don't know if depopulate actually would matter too much, honestly. Like I'm not super scared like trying to play mono red and playing burn. Like I don't know if I care about my board getting wrath, because you have like your key creatures. You have like Phoenix Chick that's recursive, Reinforced Ronin bounces back to your hand. You got the hasty adversary that like flashes something back. Like that's kind of the creature core. So just getting wrath isn't really, I don't think, a problem.
Emperor, you have like the fake timely reinforcements. Like there's a
lot
lot of
the
life. There's a lot of random life.
And
remember, Trespasser just gains life for fun anyway, right? So
yeah.
I mean, it is a tough world. You got Trespasser, Sheoldred, and the Meathook Massacre, plus maybe some sideboard cards. I've had like Parasitic Grasp come in against me sometimes and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, come on now. Like Sorin makes lifelink tokens. Like seriously, you don't gotta attack that much for
Grasp.
That's a good card.
I play Parasitic Grasp. That card is fire. But
fire against mono red, that's for sure.
It is. I've also control. Like I think one of the most important spells right now. Like I don't know why people aren't playing more control. I've just been going on a tear with Esper, and it's Void Rend. Void Rend is so good because you just don't care about half the ward stuff. Mono blue, like they have to have the thing that phases out. Yeah. Right? Like obviously shore up in that and whatnot, but like otherwise their deck is all counter spells. So like Void Rend right now has been like a 4 of and has been an all-star in every match that I have it in. So like
interesting.
It's been so good. Also, I think people forgot that Syncopate exists. Syncopate is so good with Tenacious Corn Dog, against it at least. Get that card exiled and then he's gone. He's done. Like there's just so many things that are in the meta right now that make all the decks like sweeten. The Celestis, I know we were like talking about it in like pre-release season and whatever, but like about Timeless Lotus. No. Teferi and the Celestis is the truth. That also outgains all of red deck. like I'm not even joking. That thing is absurd. It is really sweet.
I've been a Celos disbeliever since like day one. Although usually I don't even play it with Teferi. I think it's just like good. I just play in a lot of decks because I think there's like a good card. But yeah, if you untap it, gets even better.
You just start gaining 3 with Teferi every time, right? Like you can flip it and then you and with that you untap it with Teferi and it's just like, oh my god, it's so sick. And then on top of that, like you're able to like super duper outvalue the black base like mid range decks right now if you're playing control with Silver Scrutiny. Silver Scrutiny.
Ooh, yeah.
Silver Scrutiny.
Yep. That's the draw X card that you can cast it at instant speed if you're doing a little X on it. Yeah, I've definitely had some opponents like draw 7 or whatever with that, which is kind of scary.
I just had
but then they're mostly but then they're drawing a bunch of Teferis and syncopates. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, sure, go for it, buddy.
I have cast that card so many times and it like people just concede. Like the black base mid range decks, I'll just like do a full grip and they'll concede. But then again, like Syncopate is so much better than I think people are giving credit for. I think that card is really good again. The Exile
playing a draw go deck. I'm very confused.
Yeah, Crim found a way.
With this? Like people,
it's so easy. Like I'm telling you, Void Rend and the card advantage in Silver Scrutiny and Memory Deluge, it's absurd.
Like my 2-mana removal feels too slow when you're here casting Void Rend. This is amazing. Yeah. I need to see this list.
Void Rend is amazing, and I've also like had like people in my streams play the list, and they're like, yeah, I've been going on a tear with this deck. So now I'm like, well, if people have caught on that control is like playable, I now need to tech against control. I also play Katose out of the sideboard to really get rid of those Invoke Despairs. So yo, I'm telling you, Richard is right though. You can play whatever pet cards you want. I'm literally just playing Katose because she's the waifu. So I'm putting her in the sideboard and then I'm jamming her on and like in against the like all the black base mid range decks. So it's been a lot of fun.
You know what I'm playing in standard? I'm playing my commander deck.
Oh my god!
So I got trashed by this mono white control deck, which actually just went on the website. But I've been running to this person Jiggius J. Like we keep meeting up, and he keeps trashing me with this. But basically, you just play ambitious farmhand, spirited companion, and those things that just like recycle themselves, and then you loop them back with extraction specialist, Sarah Paragon, invoke justice, and things like that. And you just play all these dirty creatures and keep looping them back. And then you're like, yeah, I can literally +1 all day or invoke despair. Like I have like 80 cards in hand, right? And then it's like almost impossible to lose against black. Like you need counter magic to stop this deck, or you need a farewell, you need something like that, right? But like black-white, black-red, mono black, they cannot stop this deck, and you just sit there and grind them into oblivion, and it's hilarious actually. You play farewell in standard. It's great.
That sounds sweet. I see. Yeah, I found the list. The list is up on the site. There's also Vanquish the Horde in there. Yeah, that is a spicy sounding deck. I might have to give that one a try. That sounds like my kind of deck. How is Sarah Paragon, Ben? I was super high on that card. Does it look good in that deck?
It's only good in this kind of deck because you can easily get to 6-7 mana, and you have all the like stupid 2 mana creatures that cantrip, or you can play the Connive one too, which this list doesn't do. And you get back your sagas. So Sarah Paragon is like amazing if you get to 7 mana, right? But if you're not getting to 7 mana, you just play it on curve, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, I've been jumping around trying to play non-black decks just to see the options, and probably the sweetest one I've played recently is the Naya Reanimator deck's actually pretty fun. Yeah. Titan Industry is still a pretty legit card, and maybe the more interesting part is Sanctuary Warden's actually like legitimately good at the moment. Like it's so much value, and then especially if you can get around like Liliana is just reanimated or whatever. So I found that deck to actually be super fun and pretty competitive as far as being a non-black deck. So if you're looking for something that kind of goes big and works in a different way than the rest of the meta, I would definitely recommend giving that one a try.
That deck was a lot of fun. Also, every time I actually just most of the time let the Lily resolve because it just lets me discard some of the bombs that I
pick that up, please. Yes,
I can actually. It's quote unquote Naya, but I can never cast the Titan. So
yeah. You got like Jetmir's Garden or something. The only part I dislike of that deck is the mana's pretty rough. You got to play a playset of Windscarred Craig, the tap land, so you can cast your Invoke Justices, and it hurts. Like playing that tap land hurts.
You can play that same deck mono white. It's the same shell as that other mono white control, except you play the Angel and Invoke Justice, and there's a 2-drop Connive creature. that you can use to loot your angel. And then you can actually cast your angel and everything because you're ramping. That's the version I play. I play with Invoke Justice. So yeah, you can go.
I might have to get that.
You can go mono.
I might have to get that list from you. I was wondering how you filled the graveyard in mono white, but I guess you got Restoration of Vajano, you have the Connive stuff. Yes, so yeah,
Restoration
that's actually
and Connive, those two are enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's spicy. I like it because you really only need like a big thing in the graveyard. It's not like you're some dredge deck that's trying to like get a huge graveyard of stuff. You just need your Titan of Industry or whatever.
You can just invoke Justice back like Elspeth or Wanderer. Like that's fine, right? Like just your Planeswalker back and 4 counters. Like it's enough. You don't actually need the angel.
Yeah, the counters are actually pretty helpful with that. Invoke Justice, if you can cast it, it's a pretty strong card. But all right,
it brings me like, are the other invokes any good? Like, should we just only play invokes instead?
I was thinking about it. Like the black one sees a ton of play. The white one's good. The green one has seen play. The one that makes 2 counters. The blue one sucks.
Oh, green one's. Green one looks bad.
The green one's not bad. It has a ton of power. Isn't it like 2 4/5s or something? Like it's just has like.
Just gonna get meat hooked.
Well, yeah, it does. It does get me hooked. The red one I've seen play in like combo decks, but it's hard to play just in a generic deck. You got to have some specific plan for like flashing back the spells with it. But
wait, what happened to the blue? The blue one is just literally gain control of an artifact.
Yeah,
I wonder.
It's like control magic.
I wonder if that could like. I wonder if that could get there in the future. We've all been high on like mono blue decks recently, or mostly blue decks, like the Delver shells. I wonder if that could be a sideboard card. We've seen similar cards be sideboard cards in the past.
5 mana? I don't. Dude, I don't. Oh my god.
You hope you take a Shieldred and they can't remove it? Like, what are you going to take with
got
this?
Him. Yeah, I guess that's true. There's not great hits, but we're going to Artifact Land. Maybe there's going to be some busted artifacts we need to steal come Brothers War Phyrexia.
This is like the deck of like the most potential cards. It's got Karn, it's got the blue Invoke. It's just, oh boy, we just need Christmas to happen, and these cards are popping off.
You just need Circle of Loyalty to round up the deck.
Yeah. These cards are going to pop off.
All right, that's standard. Let's actually talk some spoilers because we're in the middle of this Warhammer spoiler season, just starting, going on all this week, and some of these cards actually look pretty strong to me. I was wondering, like, with these crossover products, are they going to make them weak so you don't really need them? Are they going to make them strong? First impression of these cards is they're actually making them pretty good. Of course, not legal in standard, not legal in modern. This is eternal legal, legacy, vintage, primarily commander. So Richard, we don't have a ton of spoilers. It's day 1 of spoiler season, but why don't you guide us through some of these Warhammer cards?
Okay, so you can find them at mtgpreviews.com, but they are basically the face cards of the 4 decks. So we'll start off with Marneus Calgar. 2 white, blue, black. So 5 mana value, 3/5 legendary creature, Astartes Warrior, double strike.
Sorry, what?
I was trying to gloss over that quickly, Prim.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
You know, between last podcast and now, we probably should have figured out how to pronounce this word. Huh?
It's
Master Tactician. Whenever 1 or more tokens enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Chapter Master, 6 generic mana, create 2 white Astartes Warrior creature tokens with vigilance.
I mean, discounting all the Astartes, this is a pretty good card, right? Like it doesn't have a once per turn limit. It's whenever 1 or more tokens. So obviously, if he has to secure the ways to make 10 tokens, you're drawing 1 card.
You'll get 1 card.
But if you can repeatedly make a token, this can be a lot of card advantage. In the body, it's not bad thanks to double strike. It's kind of a 6/5 almost because of double strike. Plus late game, you're just like, I got nothing to do. I'm gonna make some Astartes and draw a card.
I think this card is not great. It's great flavorfully. Like if you like are a fan of Warhammer, I think that's going to be something pretty cool. But as a card, I don't really like this. I don't know. It doesn't. Am I wrong? Like, is this good secretly? Like, I don't think it is.
It's not bad. I mean, I would say it's good. It's not like broken. I don't think it's horrible either. You can draw a lot of cards off this. It's a 3/5 double strike, but it's Esper, so you have to play Esper token.
I think that's
is
part of the
fine.
appeal. that's like a unique token color, like not one of the most supported
you can make
token
treasure
colors.
tokens, right? So smothering tide in this like pops off, right?
Yeah, it doesn't say creature tokens, just tokens.
Yeah, so smothering tide. I don't know what other tokens you can make.
I mean,
here.
you got
like investigate tokens.
Yeah, you got investigate tokens. You got black market connections, making treasure tokens in those colors. You got bitter blossom if you want to go. There's a lot of things you can stack up that make one token each turn. Where this is just going to be like, if this sits out, I'm drawing 5 cards each turn or something ridiculous. Like, I like it. I mean, I don't think it's like a busted CDH commander or whatever, but I'd build a deck around it.
I think there's a card that I would definitely build around from this set.
I know you like the demon one.
Right.
Yeah.
The lacquer, the dark why are there demons in Warhammer? Like, what is Warhammer for? I thought it was space. Okay, so 3.
You ever see Dead
blue,
Space?
black,
Play
red.
Dead Space, Richard? That's like demons.
No, it was scary. But there were demons in that game. Legendary creature, Demon Noble, flying, Prince of Chaos. When Belliker, the Dark Master, enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of demons you control. Lord of Torment. Whenever another demon enters a battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target.
Yo, so you have, what is that? The
2 worthy abilities.
Like, so first off, the first ability is great. I love everything about that. That is so cool. I don't know how many demons you're ever going to have because they're like all like 1,000,000 mana, but the thing here is it's sick in theory. The back half of that it's the second part that I think is going to be really good. Even though you won't have many demons always have like an absurd amount of stats. They're usually like 6/6 or at least 5 or something like that. And this gives you whatever that enchantment is. Warhammer Surge? Warstorm Surge.
Warstorm.
Yeah. Same thing. Like it gives you that on a body. That's pretty sick, dude. I think this is a really cool commander. And on top of that, the one thing that I love, I always enjoyed my mono black, my Kyrich Demons deck, but I felt like by leaving out like the Grixis card pool, I'm missing out on some pretty cool, like, demon themed things. So
and counters, of course.
And counter spells. Yes. I mean, of course. I actually do need mana drain in this because I'm playing a 9-drop demon that's not going to do anything. So,
I mean, I like this guy. I think this might be the best demon commander. Like,
easily.
It seems like it's a really strong demon commander, and much like Krim, I like that it's going into blue as well. We have a lot of Rakdos and mono black demon commanders. If you want to play Grixis, though, you're at like Solkanar or Swamp King or the new Solkanar, which aren't really demon commanders. They just happen to be demons that are Grixis. But getting blue, even just focusing on demons, you get like Lord Xander's a demon, a Silent Blade Oni's a demon ninja, Prince of Thrall's a sweet old demon. So you do get some interesting additions by going to blue. So I think this one's pretty good. I expect a lot of people are going to build demon decks around this, and it's got a really good ETB too. Like, even you were saying like, oh yeah, how many demons are you gonna have, but really with that second ability also stapled onto it, even if you ETB draw 2 or something, that's still fine. 6/5 flyer, draw a couple cards when it comes into play, and then your next demon just starts burning things, burning people, burning creatures out of the game. I think that's actually a pretty good one. What do you think about this one, Richard?
Somebody called Tomer. Is this tribal playable?
Oh god.
Ooh, changelings.
I feel like this is the problem with all tribal cards. You're just like, well, the actual best home for it is not a demon deck, but tribal, where you get access to like super cheap demons. You can slam everything down. So yeah, I don't know how tuned that deck is, but this seems like a good card. But maybe the worst card of that deck is still better than this card. I don't know, but lots of demons.
Yeah, that's all I needed to know. Lots of demons, as in like 2, because that is a lot of demons. They're like, that's like 8. That's 18 mana. Like you probably spent for 2 demons. So yeah, that is a lot. You're popping off.
Next up, Imhotep the Stormlord, 2 black, 3/3, legendary artifact creature Necron. Pharaon. When 1 or more artifact creatures leave your graveyard, create 2/2 black Necron warrior artifact creature tokens. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target artifact creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains menace until end of turn.
This is another one where I'm kind of surprised there's not a once per turn restriction on it. I'm trying to think of like the easiest way to abuse that token ability. I guess you can use, Relic of Progenitus or some exiling stuff, but there's got to be like some synergies to make a ton of tokens with this repeatedly.
lion sash.
You have
just wrong colors.
I'm like,
you need something like that.
You have
because even relic is once per turn cycle.
What's the modern thing that used to see play the 3-drop that lets you get an artifact a lesser mana value back when an artifact leaves the battlefield?
The scrap
trawler.
Scrap trawler. So that's like constantly getting artifacts back from your graveyard, so it's leaving the graveyard. I bet there's like a pretty sweet. These cards just came out, so I didn't have any time to do any brewing with them. But I think there's actually probably some sweet synergies for this card. I don't know if it's good. Maybe it's more of a 99 card. I'd play this in like Shroom or something. Some artifact graveyard style deck just in the 99.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
I wonder how many. I'm thinking of like that Sir Conrad kill you had on Commander Clash.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how many like cheese cards. Like there's got to be something you could do here. But I think maybe a scrap trawler loop or something might actually be the right answer.
Yeah, something along those lines. I mean, 2/2/2s that's a decent reward.
The second ability sucks though.
Yeah, second ability is kind of
you gotta live and die by this first ability here, so you gotta abuse this one. Next up, Magus Lucia Kane. 1 green, blue, red. So 4-teamer. 1/1. Legendary creature, human, tyrannoid, wizard. Spiritual leader. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Psychic stimulus, tap, add 2 generic. 2 colorless. When you next cast a spell with X in its mana cost or activate an ability with X in its activation cost this turn, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy.
How good is
these
this?
random abilities?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Maybe it makes sense if you're a Warhammer fan. Maybe this is like, oh my god, this is just like in Warhammer. So to me, though, it's like I don't understand what this card's doing. I mean, copying.
So you need a Gyre Sage?
Oh yeah,
like a Gyre Sage X spell deck.
Yeah, incubation druids. You can put the counters on, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then you also need X spells. I mean, I guess like Hydras get counters and want doubling seasons plus their X spells. Maybe something like that is the direction you go with it. Is that better than like Zaraxa or whatever that Sultai one is that was in a commander deck a little while ago? I don't actually know, but I don't know. It's a cool card. It is also a 4-mana 1/1, which is not a very big card as far as power and toughness. Like that's not a big body for its cost.
All right. Those are the 4 face cards, and we have 1 random card, which is Noise Marine, which is a marine with an electric guitar. 4 and a red.
Wow.
3/2
Very
creature.
literal.
As starts warrior at
what?
uncommon, so this is uncommon. It has Cascade. Sonic Blaster. When Noise Marine enters a battlefield, it deals damage equal to the number of spells you cast this turn to any target.
I mean that's
some Mad Max going on here. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, seems fine for a Cascade deck. Like if you're trying to do that, or maybe I guess like you could play in a Storm deck as like a backup Grape Shot. It essentially has Grape Shot text on it.
Because after I've done storming, I have 5 mana.
That's what the rituals are for. That's what the rituals are for. I mean, it's only an uncommon too, so I'm guessing this isn't supposed to be one of the most push cards from the set, but I don't know, in like a medium power Cascade deck, I'd probably just throw that in there for value. Cascade's a Cascade. So
I just want to say these cards look like Magic cards.
They do.
Through and through. Like the only exception, maybe the electric guitar guy is throwing it off, but the Marine. But even the Marine looks kind of magic-y. But the other 3 cards, like the Demon, that looks like it's straight out of Ravnica or something.
If I didn't know this was a Warhammer 40k deck, I wouldn't think twice about it. I just whatever. Like it's kind of a unique Magic set. The only thing that's really weird is the creature types. I guess are pretty unique, which we've been talking about a little bit. But Necrons and Tyranids and all this stuff that we just don't have in Magic. So that's I guess the least Magic-y part for me, but. I don't know, it seems like they're doing a good job of making it feel like Magic cards, even though it's featuring another IP. So anyway, we're going to be getting spoilers for these decks throughout the whole week. I think we're supposed to get a deck a day starting tomorrow. So you can find it on the mothership, the schedule, and we'll of course have them up at mtgpreviews.com. Speaking of cards from other games, last week we talked a little bit about a new Disney game that is coming to compete with Magic, apparently, Lorcana. Well, since last cast, we actually got a look at some of these cards. They previewed some early previews. Krim, I know you've been kind of keeping track of this. What are we getting with Lorcana? What did we learn in the last week?
So Lorcana is, as you know, a brand new game from Disney. Now, let me pull up the actual full list of cards here. This has actually got me pretty excited. And we've got Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, Elsa the Snow Queen, Cruella de Vil, Maleficent, Robin Hood, and Captain Hook. And so far, nobody really knows how the game's supposed to play. All we know is that it's just, I don't know, like, it looks good. Like, the way the cards look, the borders and everything, it just looks really well done. So I'm really excited for this. I don't know what Dragonfire means as an ability, but like Robin Hood is in there, and Robin Hood is like, whatever the top left is, it looks like it's going to be its resource system. So we don't know too much about how the game plays yet. We just know that these cards came out and that these cards are only available at D23 Expo. That's all we know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it looks like Magic, right?
Yeah.
So banish an opposing character looks like destroy target creature. Evasive looks like flying or whatever.
Stuff
right?
even
there is a
taps.
resource.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stuff taps. There's a resource on the top left, which looks like mana. There's a power and toughness. But yeah, so the cards look really good, and the gameplay looks decent, or I don't know, looks like a real card game. But being only Disney characters, it's like dead in the water for me.
Yeah.
Like it had to have like Iron Man or something. Like I don't really care for playing with Elsa and Captain Hook. Maybe their expansions will add in some of the other IPs, but strictly speaking, it's currently like Disney movies, like proper Disney movies.
Yeah, that was kind of my concern last week when we were talking about it. Is this a game for like adults or for kids overall? And so far, it seems like these cards at least focus more on the kid family friendly aspect of Disney. It's not Star Wars or anything like that Disney might own. It's all like pretty traditional Disney stuff. I hope the game does well. I mean, the way I'm looking at this point, and maybe this changes as we get more expansions, but maybe this just gets more kids interested in TCGs in general. And then after they are like, hey, I'm a little old to play Elsa versus Cruella de Vil versus Robin Hood, maybe they start playing Magic. So maybe the rising tide lifts all ships type thing. Maybe this is a positive for Magic overall if it just drives interest in the genre as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that like this will directly like destroy Magic or anything, but the way the cards look, it looks like it has a pretty fun game kind of like ready and like built behind it. So I don't know. Is it going to kill Magic? Probably not. Nothing will. But like the game itself looks really fun. So I'm pretty hopeful. I love a lot of TCGs. I don't only play Magic. So any chance that there's a new game out there to like, you know, kick every other competitor to like kick it up a notch, I'm excited.
Could you?
I do want to see this secret lair treatment though. I like the way like their cards look. It looks pretty good. This is what happens when you can design cards in 2022 and like not use the same frame you've been using for like 20 years.
Yeah.
They feel so full art while not being full art.
I mean, it's super magic-y. You can tell that this is like very much based on magic. They even have like the flavor words. If you read the cards, it'll have like a little like "you'll be sorry" next to like Cruella de Vil's ability or freeze. Like those are Dragonfire. Like it seems just like flavor words that Wizards started using with Adventures in the Forgotten Realms to like highlight the flavor of the cards and the abilities. So it seems very magic-y. The part that got me was the tap symbol. I honestly thought that was like trademarked or something and no one else could use that mechanic in their cards. So that part caught me by surprise because I thought that was one of like the few things that Wizards actually owns and no one else can use. But I guess maybe it's different enough. Apparently, I'm sure Disney ran it by their lawyers or whatever, but it surprised me to see that as part of the game because I thought other games couldn't use that mechanic.
The best is the bottom line. It looks exactly like a Magic card with the collector's number, the set symbol thing. Yeah.
Also, little finance news, I guess. People are selling these on eBay. I saw someone tweeting about it, and they're going for like $2,000 for the 7 cards. And apparently part of that's because of
they were like $50, right?
Well,
yeah, they're
only being
cheap.
sold at D23 Expo. This has the first edition. It has like some stamps on it. You know, it looks extra cool and fancy. So Yeah.
Oh, and so they said initially that the Mickey Mouse would only be from this festival, which was driving part of the interest, like a reserve list type thing. But it sounds like, reading an update, they clarified that all these cards will be in their first set next year.
Right.
So these are the first editions. You'll never get a first edition again. So that's the part that makes these special and unique. I guess like it'd be like Alpha Black Lotus or something. If this game takes off, these are the alpha versions of Black Lotus. You'll be able to get the beta versions or whatever once they release their full set. But yeah, it seems like there's some significant financial interest in these cards at a minimum, right off the bat at least.
Oh yeah, that's why they've also got like the special like stamps. I forgot they showed what was on the cards. It looked really cool.
So that is Lorcana. I think it's almost time for Fishmail. I just wanted to mention one more thing. Actually, well, two things real quick. One is we got a big Commander announcement today. They're expanding the Commander RC with Olivia Gobert Hicks and Jim LePage joining the RC. Congrats to them. Awesome to see some new voices on the RC growing. So that's super exciting. The other thing I wanted to mention is, have either of you been drafting Dominaria? I don't know. Have you just been playing Standard? Or are you playing Limited?
Yeah, I only play Standard, so yep.
I've freed myself from drafting by quitting Arena. I don't need to do that anymore.
Oh, there's been like a ton of posts on the Reddits over the last few days of people being like, I'm usually good at Limited, but I cannot win a game with Dominaria. What am I doing wrong? What's the problem? And I've been drafting a little bit, and I've really been enjoying the set because I love like 5-color sets. Those are some of my favorite sets. So my little bit of advice is Limited expert, put on the Limited expert hat here. I think you gotta really focus on fixing your mana. That has been my takeaway in the drafts that I've done. The drafts where I have bad fixing go really poorly, and the drafts where I have good fixing go really well. And I think that people need to reevaluate the kicker cards. I think I've looked at some people's drafts on like 17 Lands, the site that tracks all that, and it looks like something that people do is treat the kicker cost as an actual part of the card. So you got like Phyrexian Missionary, the 2-mana 2/3 lifelinker that if you kick it for black mana, you get to raise dead something. Like a 2-mana 2/3 lifelink in white, that's already a legit card. Like even if you have no black mana in your deck, that's fine. And I see people just passing these cards because they're like, well, I can't pay the kicker cost. A lot of the creatures with kicker, they're good enough on their own that even if you can't kick them, you should put them in your deck because they're just good on rate. And then when you get a bad pack and you don't really have anything that's going to help your deck, try to snag the land, even if it's not in your colors, and then you'll have the optionality of maybe being able to pay your kicker costs or maybe being able to play domain cards. So that's been my experience drafting DMU. Is it's really all about trying to fix your mana in a way that you can take advantage of all these crazy colored cards, and don't think just because you can't kick a card that you shouldn't put it in your deck, because many of the kicker cards are good enough even if you can't kick them, and kickers are just kind of a bonus on top of an already fine card in Limited. So anyway, hopefully that helps someone who is struggling with the Limited format. But anyway, I think it's Fishmail time. Richard, take it away.
Wait, before we get to Fishmail, or actually, there's a Fishmail question from Richard. Is the format good, Seth? Should we play it?
Dominaria draft, I have been very much enjoying it. Like, it is my style of Limited. You can build 5-color value piles. There's plenty of removal. So even if there's a bomb, in general, the bombs are beatable because you have all the Rona's vortexes and good removal. So I have had the most fun playing this format out of many of the last Limited formats, honestly. This is one of my personal favorites. So I don't know if you like kind of complicated formats with a lot going on and a lot of fixing, the possibility to play pretty much whatever you open. I think this is a good format for you. So I guess it depends on what you like out of your Limited. If you want to be like super aggro, monocolored beatdown or something, this probably isn't going to be your jam. But if you like to be like, I am this 3-color pile that can splash up to 5 colors and pay these kicker costs and just play all these cool cards, then Dominaria United draft is like super fun.
That sounds awesome. All right. If you have questions, send them to @MTGoldfish with the hashtag #MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. First up from Brian P. What do you think of Dominaria United lacking any vanilla creatures? Only flavor text on the card, no flying, no defender, etc. Have we officially hit a point of no return for complexity on power creep? Do we always expect something, even in Limited? Is this good for the game?
Yes. I don't think it matters. Honestly, like, let's say, how different is anything if they stuck Grizzly Bears into Dominaria United? Literally 0%. Limited is no different. Standard is no different. I don't think it really matters. Like, I don't think that having no vanilla creatures has any real impact. And if anything, maybe having more powerful cards, which adding mechanics to them tend to do, maybe that's a good thing overall. Like having higher powered commons and uncommons. That's something I've really appreciated over the last few sets. As we complain about the cost of like getting rares and mythics on Arena, seeing a bump in power at lower rarities is kind of like a weird hack to maybe make decks a little bit cheaper. Obviously not the ideal way. I'd love to just see Arena be cheaper, but the more commons and uncommons that are good enough to put in your constructed deck, I think the better for players. So I don't know. I don't care if we have vanilla creatures.
Yeah, I don't think it like takes away from the game. Like obviously it's cool to see them just as like a meme, but like other than that, it doesn't actually do anything to like the play of the game.
Yeah.
How can there be no vanilla creatures? I'm so confused. Everything has like text on it?
Yeah.
Really?
The first time ever, I believe. I saw some post about this, but yeah, apparently for the first time in Magic's history, everything has at least some abilities on it.
Because I would assume there would be like a 2-mana 3/3 or 2-mana 2/3 or something, right? Like just vanilla or like even a grizzly bear.
But now it's got kicker, or it's got connive, or it's got something.
Vigilance, draws you a card,
yeah.
death touch.
Yep.
I want vanilla creatures. I don't know why we need to power creep. Like at some point, new players need to play somewhere, right? And if they're not playing with commons and uncommons, what are they playing with? So like I think like it doesn't actually matter that you have like a 2-mana 3/3, but like just for simplicity, they should have some simpler cards, right? And it'll be on the same power level as like, I don't know, a 3-mana 2/2 with lifelink or something, right? So I think they should have some at least, but whatever. I guess we're not getting those anymore.
And
right?
we don't have core sets anymore either, which maybe that's part of it. That I don't know. Even flavor plays into it to some extent. It's easier to add flavor to cards, I think, if you give them abilities. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind if we had some vanilla creatures, but
so we don't have any just pure flavor cards anymore,
Nope.
right? Because
no.
How am I gonna know the story of Magic the Gathering?
Well, I didn't know the story anyway, so
Yeah, I currently do not know the story, so yeah.
All right. Next question. Moss Zess. Why is the Black Lord in Dominaria not a zombie lord?
Zombies get a lot of love already, right?
What is the
It's
lord
clerics.
in Dominaria?
that's the cleric lord.
Oh, yeah.
I have mixed feelings on this one. So I think the reason it's not a zombie lord is zombies are already supported in standard, and maybe Wizards was trying to avoid like supporting tribes that are already good in standard, because outside of soldiers, which is mostly from DMU, none of the tribes they supported come from tribes that are already really good in standard. On the other hand, I thought they were trying to call back to the original lords with all the nostalgia that is in Dominaria United. And if you go back to Alpha, like, what is it? Zombie Master, I think, was the zombie lord in the first ever set. And like goblins had Goblin King, and there was one other one, Merfolk, Lord of Atlantis, of course. So I was a little surprised that we didn't get a zombie just for flavor purposes and callback purposes, because I thought that's what they were trying to do, is call back to like the original lords in Alpha, but apparently not.
I feel like every set should have a zombie lord. I feel it's like angels. This is how you get people to play Magic. You're like, look, zombies. Look, angels. Right? And they come play, right? Like, so, maybe Decay would be too strong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we already have zombie support. But yeah, so it's weird. Okay, those are all the questions we have this week. Thank you to everyone who sent them in. If you have questions in the future, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 398 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard, Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about the rest of Warhammer spoilers and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.